Duty has done a lot of dumb things in its 20-year run. So today, we're going to be going over the most hated change in every COD. Let's dive in. Okay, so we're going to open this up in Call of Duty 4, and I'm not going to lie to you. I know we said we were going to go over the most hated change. I don't know if there's a hated change in this game. I mean, we had every single thing be positive. We had new streak system, we had camos, we had stats, we had create a class. If you have one for Call of Duty 4, put it in the comments down below, because I don't know if I have one. Okay, so we're moving over to World at War, and I guess this is where we technically should have started it, but for this, we're gonna say the change in era. So back in the day, Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3, they were all World War II shooters. And then, like I said, Call of Duty 4 comes out, Modern Warfare, and it feels like everybody just loved this game. I know tons of people that didn't even play World at War. They were grinding COD 4 for 2 years, and they loved it. And when they saw the change to go back to World War II when World at War came out, they're like, bro, what are we doing? We should have just stuck with the modern theme. So I'm gonna say the change of era, people did not like very much on World at War. Now, Modern Warfare 2. Again, the OG one, the good one. This is going to be the addition of death streaks. Yes, they sound exactly what they are. Before, in Modern Warfare 2, I mean, when you played other Call of Duties, guess what? If you died 100 times a game, nothing happened. You just were terrible at the game. But in Modern Warfare 2, they sought out to help out the people that were struggling. And so they gave them a reward for going on death streaks. No, not kill streaks. Yes, death streaks. So there was copycat, and that's where you copied the person's class. There was painkiller, which was one of the most annoying things of all time. It actually gave you extra health for like your first 10 seconds of spawning in. I don't know whose idea was that. And then there was Martyrdom, a perk that was in COD 4 and 5 where you dropped a grenade. This time it was a death streak. They took it out of the game only to re-add it as a death streak. And then lastly, Final Stand. We listen, we all know what this one is. Again, it was a perk back in the day, but they added it as a death streak. So when you die, you don't actually die. You go down on the ground with your pistol or gun. I can't remember if you could have your pistol or not, but again, I don't know what we were doing with this idea. It's got to be one of the worst, probably one of the worst ideas in COD history. Worst changes in COD history. Now we move on to Black Ops 1, and this one might surprise you guys, but I'm going with the streak system. Now, not the streaks themselves. Let me make sure we're clear on that. But if you played Modern Warfare 2 back in the day, you literally could get a Harrier strike and end up getting a nuke. So for examples, your kills from that streak would count towards your next streak. So, I mean, honestly, this would be a crazy way to dominate the lobby. I remember getting a Harrier. The Harrier would end up getting you your chopper gunner, and then you would get kills with the chopper gunner and then get your nuke. It was so fun to like earn that streak and then know you're like, okay, hold on a second. I got potential for a nuke. But in Black Ops 1, they removed this. So if you were to get an attack helicopter, and that attack helicopter, I think it was 7 back in the day, if that thing got 4 or 5 kills and you had dogs set, you didn't get dogs. You had to go out and earn those 4 kills. I feel like some people might like this change. I, for one, feel like, hey man, if I'm going on streaks, reward me, man. That's what I'm saying. So the streak system, they changed. I didn't like this change, although I love BO1. I didn't like this. Now we bring ourselves to the OG Modern Warfare 3, not the new one, of course. And this one, this is actually kind of funny. I mean, listen, it was really, really hated on, and it should be, but it's actually now funny when you look back on this. Now, we all remember MW2. We were just talking about it with death streaks, and pretty much that rewarded you for dying. And one of them was Final Stand, like we talked about, and every single person hated this. And so the devs, when they were announcing Modern Warfare 3, they were so strong and adamant that they had removed Last Stand from the game that they went on stage and were like, F you, Last Stand. There's a clip of it, Robert Bowling. It's this viral clip because, well,
no Last Stand. You Last Stand.
Technically, they did change it, but they made it way worse. They actually introduced a a perk, or not a perk, it's a death streak called Dead Man's Hand. And it was pretty much the same thing as Last Stand, but this time you had a C4 in hand and you pretty much could just blow up anybody in the radius. I don't know what was going on there. I thought they said they got rid of Last Stand. They just made it 10 times more OP, and it was a death streak. I'm missing something. Black Ops 2. All right, guys, sit down. We got to talk about it. It's the DSR. Probably one of the most overpowered snipers at launch in COD history. And one random day, we all woke up to it being nerfed again. Listen, you know I'm not the biggest sniper in the world. Even I was using this thing because of how easy it was to use. The fire rate was significantly decreased, and the gun, despite still being good, was just never quite the same. I don't know if it's funny or sad. It's actually sad. I need to make sure I say that. But the man behind this was David Vonderhaar. We all miss David Vonderhaar. We all love David Vonderhaar. He was the studio head at Treyarch. He would be getting messages to this day saying, why did you nerf the DSR? Some of these messages were way too serious for a video game, but the fact that he was 10 years removed from this nerf still getting messages about it shows you how impactful it was that one random day. Bad change. Very bad change. Now, COD Ghosts is a funny one. Another funny one, because I don't know what they were doing here. We all know 3 kill streak back in the day, you got something called a UAV. Simple enough, right? Well, they decided to try to reinvent the wheel and introduce something called satcoms. Same kill streak, but it was way worse. Now, there was like different divisions of this satcom, and I get where they were trying to go and try to be kind of revolutionary, but there's some stuff you just don't mess with. Now, with one satcom, it would give you a UAV with within your line of sight. So you sat down this little box with a satellite on top of it, and if it was pointing in the direction and people showed up in that direction, they would show up on your mini map. It wasn't just a sweeping thing. If you wanted that, if you wanted a regular UAV, you'd have to earn 2 satcoms, aka what is that, 6 kill streak? And then for a faster UAV, like it would sweep faster, it was 3. I believe that's 9. And then if you wanted an advanced UAV, like, you know, the Blackbird and all that stuff in Black Ops 1, you had to get 4 of these. Meanwhile, they could be easily destroyed with a knife. So even if you did get 4 of them, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be destroyed and reset your thing. Infinity Ward, some things you guys just, what are we doing here? Okay, what are we doing here? Always just stock UAV. Advanced Warfare, aka the jetpack era. Now, you're probably going to be mad at me for saying this, but I don't think it's the jetpacks. I think at this time in the era of COD, we were all begging for something new and they were trying to give it to us. So how am I supposed to be mad at the devs for trying to give us something that we wanted? Now, I'm going to do 2 quick ones. One, it's supply drops, but not in the way that we talk about supply drops. I think if everything is earnable, I don't mind supply drops. But the fact that there were guns hidden behind a paywall in supply drops that were better than the default guns, that should never be a thing. That should be illegal, okay? So the Speakeasy, the Obsidian Steed, the fact that they were the best guns of the game and you couldn't, I still don't have the Obsidian Steed. I played the game for 10 years. And then on top of that, a small one that I bet you never noticed they took away. They actually got rid of the map, the player map with player counts back in Advanced Warfare. Ghosts was the last game to have player counts. I think the reasoning be Black Ops 2, a lot of people went back to Black Ops 2 and Ghosts had less players than Black Ops 2. So they didn't want people to know that. So they were like, okay, if that happens again with Advanced Warfare and more people are playing Black Ops 2 still, we're in trouble. So no more player counts. And we never saw them again. Black Ops 3 was actually the game that they were figuring out how far they could test the supply drops. Let's be honest here. We got crazy skins. We got a bunch of more guns that were in there, only limited to supply drops. We got people dabbing and emotes in this game. You probably don't remember that because you try to put it out of your memory, but it's there. And so I'm going with, I guess, pushing the boundaries, trying to take people's money. So the change is, this is where they started getting very greedy in what they were trying to sell in a game. Don't blame Advanced Warfare, blame Black Ops 3. Infinite Warfare, I have a tough time with this one. I really, there's gonna be a couple people in the comments going, dude, it's a good game. And you know, I think campaign and zombies actually were pretty good, but the multiplayer, I feel like they just didn't do anything. And I know this is a video about what's the worst change that they did. I don't think that there was a change. I think this was the opportunity where we wanted a change and they didn't give it to us. So like, I guess this one is them standing firm in their direction of, we want to give one more jetpack game. Now I know it was probably so far in development that they probably couldn't change it if they wanted to, but I just think the direction here was a terrible direction to do the third year in a row. We were all burnt out by this time. And I mean, the game paid for it with dislikes, with the amount of people that played COD 4 instead, the amount of people that played other games instead. So Infinite Warfare was just the entire game. I don't know if that's a good answer, but I'm going with it. It's my video. Now on to COD World War II. They decided to bring us back to boots on the ground, and that was great, but then they decided to get so serious in the tone. I don't know what they were thinking, but they started this one off, and we're gonna go with the division system, okay? So if you didn't know back, I mean, I'm sure you do know, but previous CODs, you kind of were able to play however you want. A sniper could run around with lightweight and do all sorts of tricks, and in this game, the division system was locked behind essential perks. So if you wanted to be a rusher with, you know, faster moving and sprinting and mantling, you had to be airborne. Like, you couldn't take those perks and go transfer over to being a sniper or a shotgunner or an LMG guy. And eventually this got reworked when all the devs kind of, like the head devs kind of moved on. But in the initial launch of this game, this system was absolutely hated. And again, it was one of those times where they waited too long to switch something around and people left. We can't do this. You can't mess with the fundamental of Call, like the base fundamentals of Call of Duty. UAVs, perks, stop it. Okay, Black Ops 4, I mean, this could probably go a few different ways. Obviously, this game had no campaign, a decision that a lot of people couldn't stand, but I gotta be honest with you. I personally like the Blackout. I'm down for them trying something. I was excited for a COD Battle Royale. I thought it actually turned out kind of well. So for me, I'm actually gonna go with the 150 HP. If you didn't know, most Call of Duties, actually all Call of Duties are 100 HP. They decided to bump the health up in this game to 150. Now, I don't know if they were doing this to like kind of sync up with Blackout, but I just don't think it worked in multiplayer. I'm down for a higher TTK, but 150 was just a hair too much. And here's the thing about this game. They also had auto healing. So you could take somebody down from 150 to 2, and then they could auto heal instantly and be right back up to 150. You're burning 400 bullets to get 1 kill in team deathmatch. I like the idea, the premise. It sounds decent on paper. It just did not go over well in my opinion. Now we're on to MW19. Now, this game is always so divisive, and I think it's with good reason. Despite having amazing sound design and graphics and gunplay and all that, some of these changes that they made in this game are some of the worst changes we've ever seen in a Call of Duty. There's like 3, and I'm gonna quickly go over them. And we have to. To start, you know, we talked about the fundamentals of COD. Well, they removed the mini-map. I'm sorry, they didn't remove, well, you know what? Let me start over. They actually did remove the mini-map in the beta. So fun story, in the Modern Warfare 19 beta, there was no mini-map at all. 0 mini-map. There was so much kickback that they decided to add the mini-map back, but their compromise with us was, we're not giving you red dots, okay? The only red dots you're gonna see are at the top of the compass, which I don't know if I ever looked at the compass in that entire year of playing that game. I don't know why. I just think that's an awful idea. So no red dots on the minimap. Number one. Number two, disbanding lobbies. Now, let me explain what this is. You go into a team deathmatch, you play a game against anybody, against the other team. You either win, you lose, you start talking some smack. And back in the day, you just stay in that lobby and you go against these guys over and over and over again because you're like, you know what? Guess what? We're gonna beat you this game. Well, they got rid of that. So anytime your game ended, right back into the lobby, brand new lobby. And the reason is skill-based matchmaking. They were always going to keep you in a bracket of how you were playing. So if you were playing better, you're gonna go get better players. But they would disband the lobby every time. You're never gonna play the same people over and over in that game. Terrible decision. And then lastly, dead silence as a perk. It's been a perk for, what is it, 15 years at this point when this game released. They decided to take it out as a perk and put it in a new feature called a field order. So you had to earn it over time. And then you would earn it, and you'd only have it for like 10 seconds unless you got like kills, and then it fed it. You would keep getting it. But I don't know what we were doing here. I like, there's so many things to like about this game, and the fact that they could have made it probably an all-time COD if they would have not done these dumb decisions. It makes me sad because there's a lot to like about this game, and then there's a lot to hate. Okay, Cold War. So back in MW19, they introduced something else. I didn't want to include it on that one because I felt like we were beating that game up too much. They introduced something called seasonal prestige. So instead of the classic prestige, you would just, the season lasts like 90 days, and whatever your rank was at the end of that season, that's what you were. You could be a level 1500, but there was no like get to level 55 prestige, get some rewards or blah, 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 blah. It was gone. So when Treyarch announced that they were making the next Call of Duty Cold War, we were all excited going, hey man, Black Ops 4, Black Ops 3, they're going to take care of us. Prestige is coming back. Then they dropped the game with the exact same system as Modern Warfare 19. So Treyarch switched up their strategy of stock prestige, standard prestige to seasonal prestige. And I'm not going to lie to you. Awful. Just felt like you're grinding aimlessly for absolutely nothing. Bad change. Now we go to Vanguard, and for Vanguard, I'm going with the setting. Okay, so kind of like World at War, what we talked about. Let me explain this one. Sledgehammer is the developer behind this game. That's the studio. Now they also made Advanced Warfare, and it's rumored that they wanted to make a second one, but they were actually forced to make a World War II shooter. So throughout the game cycle, they just added stuff that made this game absolutely crazy and lost the identity completely. I mean, like I said in a previous video, at one point I was playing Shipment as Snoop Dogg using an EM1 laser gun from Advanced Warfare in a World War II shooter. You see how that can be a little confusing? So if you're gonna be in the setting, be in the setting. Don't change the setting in the middle of the game. You know? Modern Warfare 2. You guys know this is my favorite Call of Duty of all time. This one, I feel like it gets talked about, but like you don't really think about that this was the Call of Duty that did it. It's the changing of the menus. So not only did Call of Duty introduce us to this new feature called COD HQ, it was going to make everything so simple, all in one place. Well, that was a terrible idea, number one. They also got rid of the classic vertical menu, up and down, simple. They gave us a Hulu, Netflix vibe looking menu. Just, I'm sorry, this was so bad. And if you do your research with this, they actually brought on somebody that worked at Hulu in the design area and hired them at Activision, or Infinity Ward, I guess, and made them do it for Call of Duty. And so they thought that that was going to work for Call of Duty. And spoiler alert, it did not. So for Modern Warfare 3, I'm actually going to go with the open world combat missions and campaign. Okay, so we got to unpack this one a little bit. I know that MW2 technically introduced this, but I feel like MW2 only had like one or two and it was like alone. I felt like this game, it was like every mission. I don't know if I'm just crazy for remembering it like this, but I personally like a little bit more linear of a story. Like, I don't mind being able to go all sorts of places if it's done right, but I also don't like that to be every single thing. Like, if I wanted to play that type of game, I would go play Red Dead Redemption. I don't want to play that. I want to play like a little bit more linear, kind of like this is the story, kind of just go in the guardrails a little bit. I'm okay with guardrails, you know? So I just feel like it didn't work. I feel like they rushed it, and it was a change that, especially with Modern Warfare 3 kind of closing up that franchise, or at least we thought, it made the campaign, I don't even remember half the campaign. I just remember how bad those missions were. And that's not what you want. And that brings us to our final game, Black Ops 6. And I've had some time to think about this one, because I initially defended this move. But I think as the time has gone on, it's not been the best idea. So I think the decision to make every single map very, very super small and cracked out and TikTok movement has been bad for the overall health of the game. In the beginning, I was cool with it because I felt like you could grind camos and do all these sorts of things very quick, but then they never really introduced like these medium-sized maps. I think we have like 2 medium-sized maps maybe, and they're both remakes. It's Grind and Hacienda. And I feel like it's just, it makes the game not as fun. It makes it super sweaty, cracked out. You literally have like 1 second. You spawn in, you got 1 second. And I think part of Call of Duty making it, now I don't think Call of Duty is a tactical shooter at any point. It's not Rainbow Six, but it is an arcade shooter with a little bit of tactics in it. And I feel like they've gotten rid of that completely, because you can get to the other, you can see them in the other spawn before you even spawn in. And I think we need to get back to like the medium-sized maps. I respect trying it though. I'm not gonna lie, I respect trying it. I just don't think it works. I think we need to go back to a couple small maps, a couple medium, and a couple large. Simple as that. And there you have it, folks. That is my list of the most hated change in every Call of Duty. Let me know. How do you think I did? Do you think I missed any? I'm sure I did. There's a couple changes in I think every Call of Duty that we probably don't really mess with. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any other ideas for videos, please let me know down below. You guys have been commenting every once in a while like, hey, do this. I'm down. Send me more ideas. Down to do them. If you enjoyed this video, again, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Close to 500K. I'm gonna keep saying it till we get there. Okay, 500K, baby. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to watch another one, actually, go click over there. See you in the next one.